You're listening to The Bible Guys, a podcast where a couple of friends talk about the Bible in fun and practical ways.
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
Hey, good one. We are the Bible Guys. We want to welcome you here. And if you're listening, every day, then you already know today is Friday. And we are not doing what made Chris mad today.
We are not. This is an exciting one.
Is it exciting?
It kind of is, yeah, because it's new. And we like new things, right?
I definitely like new.
So,
but I was going to laugh and go,
here's what Des says. Des says, I know this might throw you guys for a loop, but let's be nice this Friday.
Yeah.
You will each take turns giving each other the most ridiculous and over-the-top compliments possible. This is a compliment battle. That's what we've got going on. It's a compliment battle. That's right.
This goes against our friendship.
Yep.
Our friendship is ripping on each other.
It feels uncomfortable. It does. How about this? Let's just not make eye contact.
But let's not make eye contact. Hey, but we've done this before. We've definitely given each other love, right?
Sure.
We have.
Yes,
come on.
Yes.
But it is funny though. So sometimes it does feel unnatural to do it. So anyway, we're going to do it. So who's going to start? Holy cow.
Okay. So I'm not good at these.
Yeah.
So I typed into ChatGPT.
You did?
I did.
I knew you did. That's so great. All right, I'll start then.
You're the kind of person who makes the sun jealous.
Stop.
Honestly, you light up every room way better than it ever could.
I was going to shoot for real compliments. You're going to do poetry about the sun?
Well, it's over the top, dude.
Well, that is true.
That's right. You make the sun jealous because of the light that exudes from you. You fill up every room. Yeah.
That is...
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, that's really great.
What a sentiment.
Jeff, we're reading about Solomon, and everybody who grew up in church knows that Solomon, declared by God, was the wisest man who ever lived. Mm-hmm. But after 500 Bible Guys episodes with you, I'm not so sure.
This is episode 550, by the way.
Hey, I'm not so sure, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm a wise guy.
You are like Solomon of old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. That is nice.
Well, you said over the top.
Over the top. That's way over the top. Ridiculous. That's absurd. Absurd. Okay. If awesomeness were a kingdom, you would be the supreme ruler.
Wow. This is uncomfortable. This is so funny. So stupid. I was going to shoot for real compliments. All right. How about this one? All right. If you want to go the most outrageous thing in the world, how about this? Jeff, I think you might be not only the sharpest pastor I've ever been around, but possibly the best looking.
Oh, no. I told you, don't make eye contact. That's terrible.
That's great.
That's terrible.
I'm actually loving this at this point.
Okay, no, this is awful.
Yeah.
Everyone lucky enough to be in your presence.
This is awful.
Is basking in pure light and genius.
Well, you've already said I'm better than the sun. He's jealous.
I know, but I mean, basking in your presence now is what we're doing.
Right,
that's what I'm saying.
All right, basking in my presence.
Yes.
Those around me bask in my presence.
In the presence of your light and genius, yes.
Yes. That's pretty good. All right. How about this one?
This is terrible.
How about this one? Gee whiz. Everybody,
come on, Des, this is a tough one.
Everybody on your staff wakes up every day and in order, they thank God for life. And then just below that, they thank their lucky stars and God above that they're able to work with Jeff Forrester.
Wow, really?
And they have you as a boss.
See, I feel like that's tongue-in-cheek. I don't know if I think that's true.
Oh, well, everything's sort of tongue-in-cheek, isn't it?
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to think of like, you know what reminded me of that is there's a clip by Mad Men. Didn't I show you this? Where he goes, every day when you wake up, you should thank me and God for giving you the opportunity.
That's right.
That's where I got that from.
Okay. Are we done with this one?
I think so.
Do you think so? Yeah. Because honestly, Chris, I think you're okay.
Yes, thank you. I think you're okay too.
All right, good.
Is that good enough?
That feels good to me. Yeah.
Hey,
now I want to go take a shower.
I could.
I feel icky.
I could come up with real compliments.
Yeah, I could too.
I could. Okay. All right. But
we've talked about that before, right? That as busy as we are and as much as we do, we just have to be with people we like. Otherwise, we're going to be miserable all the time.
Yeah, and by the way,
I like working with
that would be a good way to cap off this segment. When you hire somebody at Heritage, you always give the same speech, and you say, we choose you to be a part of this team.
Yeah, we don't hire people to do work. We choose people to be on our team.
Right.
Yeah. And we choose people we like.
Right. Mm-hmm. Because life is too short to work with somebody on a really high level, that you don't enjoy being around.
Yeah, absolutely. Why would you just stay miserable?
Right.
So obviously, it's more than just choosing people we like, but the likability factor really helps build a good culture, right? If everybody gets along and likes each other. So character is incredibly important. It's the first thing we look at, character, and then, are they compatible with the team, and is this going to work well? And then competency, obviously. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of things you have to look at, but that do we like you or not is super important. Yeah, chemistry is super important.
Yep.
So, yeah. Okay,
awesome.
Well, so talking about chemistry and building teams, it reminds me David really got committed to building the temple. And,
there it is. You stuck with it.
There you go.
Yeah, good for you. I forgot all about it, or else I would have searched for one. I am so happy.
So we're trying. If you're a new listener, we just recently decided we want to try to start having like the worst transitions ever.
Right.
Because it's weird to go from this dumb game every day to talk about the Bible. So we just decided instead of finding real transitions,
especially when the game is so goofy, and then let's just say like you're reading a scripture that's like so heavy, right?
Yeah.
So there's really no great transition no matter what you do.
So the last 2 days we've talked about Solomon becoming king.
Yes.
Right. And all of the intrigue around that, and the Adonijahs tried to steal the throne. Right before that, we're going to jump back a little bit because what's about to happen and what David did, he kind of sets the table for Solomon before Solomon becomes king. And this is the first time David promises, and not the first time, but the first time he announces that Solomon's going to become king. So here's what it says. David has up to this point been...
1 Chronicles 29?
Yeah, David up to this point has been bringing in the officials. He's collected a bunch of resources, all these things. And then he kind of establishes with his officials, I really want Solomon to be the king. And David even designed the new temple. Mm-hmm. Because in chapter 28, he actually gives the instructions and he gives the design to Solomon, the plans that he had made. And then he says, hey, I've collected all this stuff for you, and it's supposed to look like this. It's going to be incredible.
Hey,
right?
I don't think I've ever done this, but I want to reference 1 Chronicles 28, something we skipped over. This is such a great thing. Look at verse number 9. He says, and Solomon, my son, learn to know the God of your ancestors intimately. Worship and serve him with your whole heart and with a willing mind, for the Lord sees every heart and knows every plan and thought. And if you seek him, you'll find him. That's a very famous scripture.
Yeah.
And if you forsake him, he'll reject you forever. So take this seriously. The Lord has chosen you to build the temple and the sanctuary, so be strong and do the work.
Isn't that great?
He's giving him such great advice.
Yeah.
And what a fantastic, intentional moment for a son to say, love God, search.
For a father.
For a father to say to his son, and a king to a subject, but more importantly, father to his son, and say, this is what you do, search and get to know God intimately, take this seriously. God, it's one of the best moments
it's fantastic.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And I just happened to glance at it.
Good job, David.
Yeah, good job.
That was great. So then he lays it all out, and then he ends that chapter. Verse 20 says, be strong and courageous and do the work, right? Don't be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord God, my God, is with you, which is fantastic. So anyways, chapter 29, verse 1, he says, then King David turned to the entire assembly and said, my son Solomon, whom God has clearly chosen as the next king of Israel, is still young and inexperienced. The work ahead of him is enormous, for the temple he will build is not for mere mortals. It is for the Lord God himself. Using every resource at my command, I've gathered as much as I could for building the temple of my God. Now there is enough gold and silver, bronze and iron and wood, as well as great quantities of onyx and other precious stones, costly jewels, and all kinds of fine stone and marble. And now, because of my devotion to the temple of my God, I'm giving all of my private treasures of gold and silver to help in the construction. This is in addition to the building materials I've already collected for his holy temple. I am donating more than 112 tons of gold from Ophir and 260 tons of refined silver to be used in overlaying the walls of the buildings and for the other gold and silver work to be done by the craftsmen. Now then, who will follow my example and give offerings to the Lord today? Then the family leaders, the leaders of the tribes of Israel, the generals and the captains of the army, and the king's administrative officers all gave willingly. For the construction of the temple of God, they gave about 188 tons of gold, about 10,000 gold coins, 375 tons of silver, 675 tons of bronze, and 3,750 tons of iron. They also contributed numerous precious stones, which were deposited in the treasury for the house of the Lord under the care of Jehiel, a descendant of Gershon. The people rejoiced over the offerings, for they had given freely and wholeheartedly to the Lord, and King David was filled with joy. Then David praised the Lord in the presence of the whole assembly. O Lord, the God of our ancestor Israel, may you be praised forever and ever. Yours, O Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the victory and the majesty. Everything in the heavens and on earth is yours, O Lord, and this is your kingdom. We adore you as the one who is over all things. Wealth and honor come from you alone, for you rule over everything. Power and might are in your hand, and at your discretion people are made great and given strength. O our God, we thank you and praise your glorious name. But who am I, and who are my people, that we could give anything to you? Everything we have has come from you, and we give you only what you first gave us. We are here only for a moment, visitors and strangers in the land, as our ancestors were before us. Our days on earth are like a passing shadow, gone as soon without a trace. O Lord our God, even this material we've gathered to build a temple to honor your holy name comes from you. It all belongs to you. I know, my God, that you examine our hearts and rejoice when you find integrity there. You know I've done all this with good motives, and I have watched your people offer their gifts willingly and joyously. O Lord, the God of our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, make your people always want to obey you. See to it that their love for you never changes. Give my son Solomon the wholehearted desire to obey all your commands and laws and decrees, and to do everything necessary to build this temple for which I have made these preparations. And then David said to the whole assembly, give praise to the Lord our God. And the entire assembly praised the Lord, the God of their ancestors, and they bowed low and knelt before the Lord and the king. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you and I probably can't even imagine the amount of gold. 188 tons of gold. Tons.
Yeah, David gave 112 tons himself.
Right.
And then they added 188 more.
Yeah,
So I looked it up, and depending on the price of gold, it's somewhere between $55 and $60 million per ton.
Whoa. Wait, say that again.
It's between $55 and $60 million per ton in today's value of gold.
So 60 per ton. So that's
let's just round it up to 60. It's going up anyway.
60,
so 60,
and you're talking about.
And he did 612. He did 600. David by himself 612 tons.
Oh, well, 188 and 112 is 200. Isn't that right?
No, it's 300.
Oh yeah, duh.
Yeah, but I was trying to highlight first of all David's gift.
300. Yes. So that's 18
billion.
That is incredible.
Yeah. But if you go just David's, no, we got to do it right.
It's 60 million times 300. Yes. 60 million times 300 is 18,000 million.
Yeah, it's $18 billion.
18 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what I was going to highlight first, before we get to the total 18 billion,
sacrifice
is David's, right? So David gets up and he gives. Oh, I'm sorry. He gives $6.7 billion worth of gold,
right,
from his own money.
Yeah.
Then he goes beyond that. He gives 260 tons of silver. That's another couple $1 billion. Right. So dude steps up and gives like $10 billion.
Right.
Not including the other treasures, the iron that he gave, the gems that he gave, all those things, right?
Which, by the way, you don't often, when you read David's stories, hey, he became king, you don't often picture him as being a multi-gazillion billionaire.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't often see David that way. Do you?
Right. No, but they took spoils from every victory and all those kinds of things. That's where he built his wealth, and then tribute, because he had other nations that were bringing tribute to him. Right. So yeah. But what I think is amazing here is, one, he's telling his son, before he brags about his money, before he does anything else, he's like, Solomon, there's nothing more important than your walk with God. Right. Mm-hmm. So, and then he turns to the people and says, hey, listen, he's young. He doesn't even, he has no experience, and he's got this incredibly important responsibility of building the temple. Nothing's more important than building this temple. And then David says, I'm so committed to it, I'm going to give my own wealth. He doesn't take it from the kingdom's treasury. He doesn't go collect taxes from everybody else. He goes, this is my wealth, and I'm going to give $10 billion. And then his generosity inspired all of his officers and his leaders and all these family people. And they gave, like you said, they added to it billions upon billions upon billions of dollars. Can you imagine how magnificent the temple was? Yeah. And how magnificent it was that all these materials were just for the temple. Hey,
I gotta throw this in here. So have you ever been to the Vatican?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you know the
it's magnificent
wealth, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I remember talking to a person who is just who loves all that, and he's totally devout, and and I had made a comment, and I said they had a punch bowl, and this punch bowl was solid gold, and it was probably worth $3 million, right? Just this punch bowl. And it wasn't just a punch bowl like you can hold in your hands. It was like too big for, you to even lift, okay? And it was, they called it a punch or some kind of bowl or something. But anyway, it was just made out of this pure gold, and it was probably worth $3 million. And I was like, are you kidding me? You could take that punch bowl and you could, melt it down and, feed an entire country, right? Like, that's just ridiculous. And then the person who was with me said, or you could think of it as like the Old Testament, how God is honored in wealth and the very best of best.
Right, the very best of what we have.
Yeah, and I said, where do you get that from? And he said, well, when they built the temple. And I said, yeah, that's when God lived there. Yeah. God doesn't live, necessarily just in the Vatican. He lives everywhere. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that God's house and his address, that would have justified that. Right. I'm not sure if you know this or not, but God flooded out of the Holy of Holies, and he's everywhere now. Right. So I'm not sure that the same rules quite apply. So I had this argument, and this guy was totally offended. Oh, right. He was he disagreed with me entirely.
Well, I do believe that the attitude that David is giving, this over the top generosity, that God deserves my very best. Because his prayer is, who am I and who are your people that we could give you anything? Right. Right. We should desire, first of all, he said, because you gave us everything. We didn't give you anything that you didn't give us first. Right. And that's the attitude of generosity when we come to God and we go, God, everything I have is yours. The house you gave me is yours. The car you gave me is yours. Let me use them for you. The bank account I have, the resources that I have, these are yours. One, God's not broke, and he's not going to owe you anything, so you can't outgive him. Right. And we find that. So when several years ago, Heritage decided we were going to invest heavy in the next generation, and we wanted to make a world-class space for our children, and we needed to raise a bunch of money, and the economy was a little tight in that moment. It wasn't hard, but it was, we had some people that were struggling a little bit. And so my wife and we decided that we were going to give the biggest offering that we've ever given in our life. And I went to her and I told her, I said, I think I'm going to tell people what we're going to give. She goes, oh, no, Jesus said you can't tell people when you give alms on the street, don't blow trumpets. I said, well, I'm not blowing trumpets, and this isn't alms. Right. So there's a difference between tithes, which is God's command, you give 10% of your income. Yep. There's not even any wiggle room on that when he says, then I will pour out the windows of heaven, or open the windows of heaven, pour out blessing on you, right? God's blessing comes when you tithe. So the tithe is rent for living on this planet. Offerings are, God, I'm so grateful, and I really believe in this thing and this cause, and I'm going to give to it. And then alms, that's the third way of giving in the Bible, is when you see, like Jesus would see a poor person, or somebody would see a poor person. Peter and John see a poor person on the street, and he goes, silver and gold have I none, but such as I do have, I give to you, right? And it's that spur of the moment, just taking care of a poverty issue, right? Mm-hmm. So tithes is obedience. It's rent for living on the planet, 10%. offerings are, you believe in a cause, you believe in what God's doing, and God's been good to you, you're going to be generous back. And then alms is taking care of other people. So in this moment, I said, we're this isn't a tithe thing, and it's not an alms thing, Bonnie. It's an offering thing. And David got up and led the people, and the people were inspired by his generosity. So we're going to give. So we gave by far the largest gift, maybe the largest gift we'll ever give before we die. I don't know that I'll have the resources to do it again, but in that moment, we gave our whole retirement at that time because we cared about children and teenagers at Heritage Church, right? And I had a couple people go, "You shouldn't have told us that." But I had several people come and say, your generosity inspired me, and I realized God has given me so much. And I use this passage. I use this prayer. David said, God, I don't have anything, nothing in my life is mine. It all came from you. Right. And so I don't even feel worthy to give it back to you. What do I have to give? The only thing I have to give you is what you gave me. And in that time, my wife and I, we decided not to we were going to buy a house. And it was going to be her dream house. And we decided not to. We decided instead we were going to use the resources to do this. And, I just told you yesterday we closed on a house far greater than the house that we would have done, 5 years ago. Right. And God blessed us. God was like, I'm not going to owe you anything. And I don't think that there is ever any shortage of God's resources for God's people when we recognize none of it's actually ours. Right. All of it is his. Who am I that I even have the privilege of giving you this gift? And when you do that, look what God does. God blesses David beyond comprehension. God protects Solomon. And then, hey, we're going to get into it next week. Solomon's reign is beyond comprehension. David's dream for Solomon, God exceeded his dream 1,000 times over. Yeah. Right?
Well, I love how he gives everything, and then after he gives everything, his posture is, but who am I and who are my people that we can give anything to you?
Yeah, I love it.
Everything we have just comes from you, and we give only what you first gave us. We're here for but only a moment. Yeah. Visitors and strangers in the land, as our ancestors were before us. Our life is a vapor, James says, right? Right. It's here 1 minute and it's gone the next. And so David is, here he's giving this massive offering. Everybody around him is probably like, wow, that's so inspiring, and that's such a great thing. And yet David says, who are we? We think we're doing something great, but guess what? We're nothing and nobody. Who are we to give anything back to God? We're not giving back to God. Yeah. It's God's. Right. And so his mentality is such that he recognizes at any given time that God is the author and owner of all things. Yeah.
My life changed the day I realized I do not give tithes and I do not give offerings. I bring them back. Right? Right. And I'm telling you, my life changed when I realized I don't give God anything. I'm just bringing it back to him.
That's great.
Saying you deserve it, right? And that's changing. I have a pastor friend of mine who wrote some books. He made some money. He really did some really great things. He was setting up his end-of-life plans. I mean, he's still alive. He's not dying. He's just planning ahead, right? He has some wealth. And he was talking with a financial advisor and realized through trusts and through a couple of things, he could wind up offsetting a lot of taxes for his children if he set up these trusts this way, and that would leave even more money. And God convicted him and said, what if instead of you leaving it to 3, what if you left it to 4? And he took that excess money, bought a couple of life insurance policies that go to the kingdom, not to his children. So his children are going to get the same amount of money they were going to get, but because of the savings and things and the way he structured his death benefits to his family, he had these savings. And he stood there, he talked to me, he got all teared up, and he said, you know what? I am going to the day I die, I'm going to give the biggest gift I've ever given to God. And I'll be there to see him when he gets it. Yeah. Isn't that great. Such a brilliant thing, right? Yeah. I love this where he's saying, I'm strategizing for my end. David is coming to the end, and I'm going to give it back to God. I give it all to him. He blessed me. I'm going to give it to him. We know Solomon didn't suffer. Right. Solomon winds up being the wealthiest man that had lived up to that point. Yes. Right? So he wasn't giving something from Solomon. He was just giving his own wealth, and God blessed. And David's family was thriving. So I love this passage. That's why I wanted to read it. Yeah, well, I didn't want to miss it.
That's great. Well, hey, that is definitely our time. And it was a great passage today. And we'll pick up tomorrow, which is actually Monday, on the Bible Guys. We'll see you then.